Bracket racing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life. Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast, episode 32 with Brandon and as always, Mr. Andrew Sturck. How you doing tonight, bud?
We're doing all right. It's a Tuesday. It's still cold, but we're getting there.
It is. It was nice for a little bit, but we got a little bit of snow last night. I don't know. How are you guys?
I don't know. I've stopped counting. It's still white out until I see green. That's all that matters to me, to be honest with you. But
I hear you.
That's about it.
I get it. If you guys are tuning in live, Facebook or YouTube, checking it out, leave a comment in there throughout the show. We love seeing them, love getting them. Keeping up with it. You know, Brock Godmare, Flying Frog on there, Mike Doe already, Mobile Life or RV Center. The loyal listeners, whatever you want to call them,
Absolutely.
All the usuals there hanging out. So let us know you're in there in the comments, Facebook or YouTube live. We love it. It's a lot of fun. We enjoy it. We'll jump into the Canadian countdown. Andrew, you spent the weekend in Toronto, spent at Motorama this year.
Yeah, so we had the Motorama Custom Car Motorsports Expo. To be honest with you, it's the Drag Race Night Champions is the highlight for me, right? To get to go see all the champions from across Ontario was really encompassing this year because we had 20 plus champions and had two of the Bracket Super Tour champions, Dave Rennie and Jim Giff, make their way all the way out from Ottawa. So I mean, that's a bit of a hike. I've done this trip once or twice now, right?
Yeah.
And it's great to have had everyone out there. It's kind of neat to see the drag racing content that was there. Canada Heads Up had their booth there. B&G Fuels sat up there, Sunoco and Fuel Factory, right? So if you follow some of the stuff that's going on in the world, you've seen this new fuel company called the Fuel Factory out there, and they're looking to bring it into Canada. So it's, looks like there's more options coming to the marketplace as they go forward. He's currently in Quebec, but it sounds like they've got some possibilities coming to Ontario maybe in the near future. So again, more options isn't a bad thing, and a lot of backing to this. So it'll be neat to see, how that develops as it goes. So it was a great weekend in Toronto, or a great day. I spent Saturday there. I didn't spend the weekend, but nonetheless, got to do some interviews. Hopefully, if everything goes well, we'll have some content coming out from the show from some interviews we did there. We'll see how that goes. But otherwise, that was that. But additionally, in the world, we had some more racers out and about. A couple events going on. There was some of our Western Ontario buddies, Ken Hebert, Rodney Gomes, Brad Gibbs, decided that they were done with winter. They were sick of white snow, and they hit the road and got all the way down to Louisiana to Gulfport. Galen Rollison's track, I guess you can call it that because he runs it now, right?
Yeah.
So the newly renewed Gulfport for the Top Ball 150. So again, not a lot of big results. Don't get me wrong. I'm just highlighting those who are out doing the things I wish we could do. But Rodney got as far as
envious of, right?
That's exactly 100%.
Talking about those, so that everybody else that doesn't know, you can be envious of these people as well,
along with us, right? Like they always say, like what is it? Suffering loves company, or whatnot. So
misery loves company.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So Rodney did the best, went 5 rounds, managed to run Ken twice, drive all the way to Louisiana to race a guy that's down the road from you. But it was great. I think from there they went to Capital City. There was another top ball race there, the WTR Nationals.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that was the highlight from them. Baby Gators NHRA racing kicking off. To an extent, Division 2, some Canadians down there, Top Alcohol, Jeff Field, Daniel Mercier, and the Baby Gators get into the 8-car field. And again, drive all the way down there, qualify, and race each other in round 1. Mercier taking the win over Jeff. Mercier would bow out in the semis, like close race, like 5:28 to Cody Crone's 5:24. So just some good laps. Top Alcohol Funny Car, saw Ryan Stack down there. He was the lone Canadian in alcohol funny car and did okay. Qualified 7th, got down to the semifinals of the Baby Gators. Carry it forward to the Gators the next weekend, which would have been last weekend. 3 drivers make the field in Top Alcohol. So Veal, Mercier, and Jeff Chatterson joins them. And in typical Canadian fashion, I guess, we managed to find each other in round one. Veal taking the win over Chatterson. Mercier had a lineup against Corey McCulloch and unfortunately was sent home to Quebec early on that one. Veal went down to eventual event champion Julian Natas in round two. Ryan Stack got into the field at I'll call Funny Car, and he did well. Advanced to round two, where he'd run into the eventual champion Matt Gill. So, unfortunately,
There's
both
starting to be a
champions
trend here so far.
just a touch, right?
Yeah.
Can't avoid those guys who are going on to win the race, I guess, right? And girls.
Exactly.
Some other notables down there. Some of our East Coast friends. James Cowie, Miramichi, New Brunswick, made his way to round three in Supergas with very good talent there. Unfortunately, bowed out in a close one in round three. I think that round win would have put him into Sunday's final eliminations, if not late Saturday. I kind of forget how it went. The rain kind of messed up how I was watching that race. Now, win side. So, as you know, later on here, we'll have a guest on who has won one of the biggest pro modified races on the planet. But we had another guy in pro modified doing well down there, Justin Bond, who our West Coast friends will know from out towards the Mission, BC racetrack area, driving the Bahrain 1 car, Canadian, qualified number 2 spot, and end up outrunning JR Gray in the final to win the season opener NHRA pro modified race. So third Canadian to win a pro mod race in 7 days between our guest tonight, Melanie Salemi winning the B race at the World Series, and Justin putting his name in that contingent as well. And from the tuning side, I just like to note it because it's great to see Canadians do well.
Yeah.
Rob Flynn with the Scrappers Top Fuel team taking the W in Top Fuel, and Mark Savage, who we will talk about as well in as we move forward here. Mark tunes or helps co-tune our guest car tonight, and he was also the car chief on the Bahrain 1 team with Justin. So big week for Mark, going from a 100K win to an NHRA win in his line of work. So that kind of wraps up all the key parts on the Canadian countdown. And if we move forward, if anyone else is out there running around and does anything or misses anything, let us know, because I will gladly roll backwards to get highlights. I love seeing all us Northerners do well down south, but I can't keep my eyes on everything all the time.
Yeah, we love talking about it, right? We have a lot of fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
So you could pretty well say that Canadians are just dominating pro mod. Doesn't matter what we're doing, right? It doesn't matter you're doing NHRA or, I don't want to say outlaw class, like World Series pro mod, not really outlaw, I guess, but
it's outlaw pro mod. But
you run a pro mod class, like then apparently Canadians are going to win it. So,
well, there was a lot of dominance in that World Series race, and we can get into that as we get talking to our guest tonight. So
absolutely. So Andrew, you've talked about it a lot. We'll get it on. I know he's sitting there. He's excited to be here. Spencer Hyde coming in, $100,000 World Series of Pro Mod race winner. There we go. Spencer, how are we doing tonight?
Good, boys. How are you?
Excellent, bud. Excellent. Glad to have you on. Thank you for coming, taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, especially on the podcast scene coming up, right?
That's fairly recent.
Yes. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. We're the first in a lineup of 3 podcasts this week, I believe.
Yeah. I got you guys tonight, Wes Buck tomorrow, and Courtney Enders on Friday.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And then so we can find those as well. Wes Buck Show, it's on Andrew. It's live. It's live.
Well, it's live on YouTube now. Yeah. They post the link. I think they left from Facebook a couple weeks ago, and it's now just on YouTube. But
okay,
they shared the link on Facebook.
Yeah. And then the Courtney Enders deal, right off track. That's going to be. Is that strictly on Flow, or is that going to be somewhere else as well?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. Again, she shares it all on Facebook, and I will share it as well. But I think it might be Flow / YouTube, but I'm not sure. This is only episode 3 for her. So
just getting started.
It's relatively new. It's been pretty good so far too.
So. Yeah, no, it has. I watched both episodes and it was good. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I want to start off. Obviously, congratulations, big win, huge. That's massive for Canadian drag racing. Massive for your racing as a whole. Obviously, I can only imagine what it will feel like the first time I win a $100,000 race, right? I do plan on doing it at some point, but I can only imagine what that felt like, celebrating all the work. We're going to get into that whole story of it. First, everybody's to me, this is bracket life, right? We talk about bracket racing. That's mainly what we focus on. why are we talking about pro mod?
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, this guy that just won 100 grand racing pro mod used to be a bracket racer, started out that way, and then we'll look at some of the time slips and everything like that. Obviously, it kind of came through a little bit on the starting line, all that experience. So
absolutely.
Before we talk about the week and about the World Series Pro Mod stuff, let's talk about your history in racing, kind of how you got into it, where you started, and kind of where you came from at the racetrack.
So I started not really that young compared to some of these guys now. Some of these kids are out there at was 8, now it's 5 years old. You can get a junior dragster, but
I did start when I was 6. Yeah,
that's crazy. I was nowhere near the racetrack at 5 or 6 years old, but I grew up around motocross and flat track bikes and 4-wheelers and all that stuff. So I really wanted to race motocross as a kid. And my dad grew up around flat track racing and saw a bunch of his buddies get hurt, pretty busted up. So they were dead against that. Snowcross was out too. I tried that. A friend of mine, Joey Hishin, who you guys know, was racing junior dragsters in Grand Bend, and went up and started hanging out with him and watching them. And his uncle Mike grabbed me one night and said, "Here, jump in my granddaughter's car and you can take it for a lap." So I jumped in Nicole Blowes' junior dragster and made a lap down Grand Bend Motorplex, and was pretty instantly hooked. And so we decided to purchase a car at the end of 2006 from Jack and Jordan Switzer. And I helped Jordan kind of all year in 06, did all the maintenance on the car, kind of learned the car, and not that there's a ton of stuff on the junior dragster, but there's enough. They like to rattle themselves apart. So at the end of the year in 06, I jumped in it for a race. It was Windsor weekend, 2006. And I won. I won the first race. So the bug bit me pretty hard, and we decided to do the full series, the full schedule next year in Grand Bend for the junior dragster 790 and the 13 to 17. Finished third in the 790 and I think fourth or fifth in the junior. And that was always dominated by the Atkinsons. They were unbeatable. I could never beat. I got Nick and Ryan a few times, but Bailey had my number. I could not beat her. And
we were talking about them. We forgot about Nick and Ryan on the weekend when we spoke.
I know, but
just a team,
and they were good too. Don't get me wrong, but Nick especially, he was Ryan is a little younger, but they were all good. And every time you'd line up against them, it was you knew you had to do your job. But from there, started helping Jim McCann back in that was 08. He had a blown small block dragster, ran mid 6s, pretty iconic car in Grand Bend. It had GoCo on the side of it for a long time, and he had raced forever and been a successful top dragster guy. And started crewing with him, and one thing led to another, and he same sort of thing. He said, "Why don't you jump in this thing and give it a try?" I was just turned 16 and jumped in that, and again made a run down the 8th mile in Grand Bend, and I don't know, it went fast. It was like 4:29 or 4:31 or something at like 160 something to the 8th, which was significantly faster than I had obviously gone in a junior. And I did however run a 16-second Mercury Comet when I was 15 in St. Thomas. I'll touch on this a bit. It was kind of a funny story. So guy by the name of Wayne Huber, he's passed away now, but he was a partner of Jack Hyde's of Jack and the Greenstock back in the 50s and 60s. And anyways, he had this Comet that he wanted to run. He had a bunch of old cars, and so he called up Mathers and said, "Hey, I got this kid that wants to run the car at the ONDR race. Do you think we can make it happen?" And Mathers goes, "Yeah, what do you mean? Why not?" He goes, "Wow, he's only 15." And he goes, "Well, we can't do that. He needs to have a license." And he goes, "Well, it's Jack Hyde's cousin." He goes, "Well, if he's a Hyde, he can probably drive." He goes, "I'll tell you what, I got some light bulbs and some bleachers that need to be fixed. If he comes down here on Thursday and Friday and gives me a hand, we'll make it happen. So anyways, I went down there and helped them, touch up a bunch of stuff and change some light bulbs on top of the tower. And anyways, they let me run and no shit, I got Jack Hyde first round and I broke out. I was nervous. I was running 16 seconds. He was running 10 and I just kept my foot in it. But anyways, so I did run a full size car before the dragster, but not much. It was like I said, a 16-second car. And from the dragster, after we licensed with Jim McCann, I went to Frank Hawley School, got my Super Comp license, ran the full season in 2009 with the Quick 32 series there.
That was a nitrous setup of some sort, I think.
No, it was a blown small block.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right.
So,
okay.
And it was a lot of fun. It was a good little engine, little 400-inch small block Chevy with a 1071 on it, and ran 650s at 205, 206. And anyways, from there, it was a lot of fun, and I got not a lot of seat time in it, but I probably put 40 runs on that year in that thing, and then I had my eyes set on door car. I just remember watching Carl Spearing run that Cobalt that he had, and that big nitrous motor, and just sounded awesome. And anyways, we kind of made a deal with him to buy that thing, and we got his daughter Lisa was running a dragster at the time. We kind of got them as a package deal, and actually you, I believe, drove that car for quite some time after that. But anyways, got into the Top Sportsman stuff and never really looked back. I fell in love with the door car and ran Top Sportsman from 2010 to 2016.
Yeah, it's quite a few years.
Put a lot of laps on.
Yeah.
We only ran the Cobalt for 2 years, and we ended up buying that 68 Camaro from Dave Keeling. It looked the same. They were both ex-Ricky Smith cars, the Cobalt being a Mountain Motor Pro Stock car, and the 68 was a car that Ricky built. Ricky used to do this thing where he'd build two cars at the same time, and he'd test them both, and whatever one ran better in testing, that's the one he'd take, and he'd send the other one back to Bickle.
I think that was the Pro Stock influence on it, because that's how I heard Pro Stock guys. Here's two. This one's faster by 1,000, right?
So anyways, this thing had like no runs on it, and Carl put it all together for Dave, and it was beautiful. The thing was brand new and just a really nice car. And my dad fell in love with it. He didn't really like the Cobalt body. He really liked the old 68 body. So next thing you know, we had that thing, and that's when we got kind of rid of the nitrous. It was plumbed for nitrous, but we ran it naturally aspirated. It was a 762 and ran 690s to 710 depending on the air, and that was honestly where I honed all my driving skills. Was I probably put 300 or 400 laps on in that thing, and just really got comfortable in a door car, and got into some situations where you had to drive it a bit and learn what it does when you get out of shape. And not that it was going super fast, but I mean, high sixes isn't slow.
No.
So, that was a really good experience for me. And then it was a good car. We actually blew the engine up in 2012 and built a blower motor for it. And that's when things kind of started getting a little more serious, started going a little faster. And all of a sudden I'm looking at the heads up classes and I go, I think I can run with these guys. So there was a loose rule set on Outlaw 10.5 that year in 2016. So Nick Augustino was bugging me to come out, and next thing you know, I'm buying little tires and putting it together. And we went out and the thing ran awesome. Like we ran a bunch of 420s, and we ended up going down to Florida and Orlando and running World Street Nationals. And I think we ran some low 14s. We might even went 412. Then it was Pro Mod. That's what I had my sights set on, and that's where ultimately we ended up, and that's where we're at today.
Yeah, so there's a lot of years of those sportsmen, because I remember the Quick 32 tour and everything else. I mean, there was just lots of opportunities to make runs, and you certainly, you guys were big supporters of us. He made a lot of laps and stuff, right?
Yeah,
and did well with it too. I mean, that was one of the other things. Like I think in the door car, you had quite a bit of success with it.
Yeah,
right?
we won I think three top sportsman races, and I was telling you on Saturday I never did win the dragster door car runoff, and I think I ran Mike Hinbest 2 or 3 times, who was also sponsored by Napa and Ideal Supply at the time, and it didn't matter what I did, I couldn't beat him. I think the last time I ran him, it was 005 red, and he was like 420 or something on the tree, just like. And he just flat out ran me the time before that. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. Missed those days. We had a pretty awesome crew that ran that whole series.
Yep, absolutely. So with that said, like, I mean, that, that speaks volumes about how you got into the fast, like the transition. I mean, the step from junior to bracket world is obviously a pretty steep one, but one that it certainly didn't take you very long to get good and comfortable with, right? You can kind of see how the path got paved for you to get into the fast door car, pro mod world, right? And maybe we'll use this a good time, like, to jump ahead just a little bit. So you're in pro modified, you're running around, 10.5 heading to pro modified, right?
Yeah.
Again, local pro mod series is that kind of help stimulate.
Yeah, stepping stone stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're running around Ontario and Quebec running in these, where do you just start seeing, your racing schedule start to see some of these, US events, some of these bigger ones? I mean, as we lead up to the World Series, obviously in a few years type of scenario, but
yeah,
talk maybe a little about your growth in that type stuff as you got towards running on a higher level, because you've been to NHRA races before you went to the World Series, right?
Yeah. So started right in Grand Bend, Outlaw 10.5, kind of naturally grew into the pro mod stuff locally. I was working with Atchison Machine at the time, and Rob was running pro mod and we were running Outlaw 10.5. So he was helping me quite a bit with the power management stuff, especially on that little tire. It was a big learning curve, and just naturally progressing from the Outlaw 10.5 to the pro mod. We ran the Chevy engine that we had in pro mod for a year, and quickly realized that it wasn't gonna cut it. We ran okay, like we're a bunch of 620s at like 230 for like a real big block Chevy was pretty good. So anyways, I went out and against his will, I went and bought a Hemi. They're big 481X guys, but I went and bought a Hemi off Bruce Boland, and I had them put it all together for me, and we went out and we started running faster than them, and that was the end of Rob kind of helping me tune, so to speak. But
free tuning tips kind of stopped rolling in.
Exactly. So anyways, all good. But that's when I started kind of doing everything myself, and we ran that combo for a couple of years, and we took it up to Al Bellis Dyno early in 2018, and he kind of told me, he goes, yeah, this thing's going to run 590 6.0s, which is kind of what I was shooting for, and that was winning races up here, so I was pretty happy with that. And anyways, went to PDRA in 2018 in Martin, Michigan, and first time we'd run 8th mile. I think we went 393 at 189 or something, or 190. Pretty happy with that. We qualified 12th or 13th, and it's a first round exit, but kind of caught the bug and knew we needed to step it up from there. So we ran 19 here locally, and then we were kind of at the limit for that car. So we went and purchased another car from Roger Henson that Bubba Stanton won the PDRA World Championship with in Pro Extreme in 2015. It's a really good car. Scruggs had drove it too a bunch, and they actually were using it as their NHRA car in 2019 before their new style modern Camaro was done. So anyways, this thing was just sitting there. Roger didn't really want to get rid of it, but Billis kind of talked him into selling it to us. And anyway, so we went and picked that up, and picked up a couple 4.9 Noonans from Raymond Camiso, and put the whole package together, and we decided we were going to go NHRA racing in 2020. So we went down to World Door Slammer Nationals in Orlando early 2020, beginning of March, with a brand new combo, I had hired Mark Savage, who had been a longtime buddy. We weren't close buddies by any means, but we knew each other for quite a while, and so hired him to come down, and we went down there and sucked. We blew up the first engine on the second run, and put the other one in, and we're kind of conservative the rest of the week because we were planning on going to the Gators the week after. So we didn't qualify, but we made some progress for sure, and headed up to the Gator Nationals, and that's when the world shut down. So
COVID pause hits, and you're telling me about that story where NHRA,
Josh Peterson was in my pit teching my car, and all of a sudden he was like gone, and I texted him and go, "Hey man, where'd you go?" And he's like, "Oh, I'll be back in a bit." He never came back.
Yeah.
So
had to get away from you before he got caught.
2 years later until someone actually sees anyone again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's well, that's neat where you bring in like Mark Savage into this part, right? Because I think that's something we'll touch on as we get forward. Like when we talk about the crew side of things, is this the whole Canadian aspect of it, right? I mean, this is Canadian team, Canadian crew, like through and through, right?
Yeah, 100%. All my guys are Canadian. I don't know if you caught 00 Shit Show had a joke on there about Spencer Hyde's crew, and it was a picture of the Letterkenny guys, and Mark actually took a photo of my guys drinking beer after, and like they had literally cut off shorts on and shirts and plaid, and he's like, you were making a joke, but this is actually what his crew looks like. So yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. I wanted to take a quick leap back. Brock Godmeyer in the comments asked, how old was he in 2006 when he started? Racing?
14.
14 when you got into it? Cool. It's a decent age, right? Decent age.
Yeah.
Get into it fresh and then start rolling. So you've already kind of hit 4 names I have wrote down. Some Canadian, I think they all deserve to be called legends of Pro Mod. Al Billis, Carl Spearing, Bruce Boland, Rob Atchison, Rob Moore for the alcohol funny car stuff, right? 3-time world champion. Carl Spearing, legend, huge. IHRA Pro Mod. Bruce Boland, same thing. Al Billis, obviously massive in that world as well. Kind of those guys, obviously huge influence on you. What other racers or mentors did you have when getting into Pro Mod and making that transition? Because it's not easy, right? Getting into a class like that at this time now, where these dudes were all in it when you could go 630s, like we were talking about. Now you're getting into a class that you have to go 580s realistically in quarter mile and 370s, let's say 360s, at the start of when you got in. So how was that? Who was there to help out with that? And kind of who are the main mentors or influencers?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I followed Pro Mod for a long time, like even as a kid. So I remember, back in the IHRA days when, Scotty Cannon was running and Carl and Bruce and all those guys were running IHRA. I guess when it got faster and it kind of turned to the 8th mile stuff, Al was still running his own car. Well, he wasn't driving it. He had Tommy DiApro driving it. But when they were running good there, and I think 2017, 2018 PDRA, that was kind of what got me hooked on going that route. Seeing a Canadian car do good, and I knew Al was as good as anybody out there at it, and Tommy's a hell of a good driver. So I guess I kind of watched that program closely, but I mean, even following Mike Janis and those guys too. But I mean, the local stuff, Bruce Boland was my hero. Like this guy could, didn't matter what he did or what he got in. He somehow slid the thing down there and on the wall, scraping the header on the wall, going 595. And
he could buy a Pro Mod out of a junkyard and make.
Oh man, he had a new car like every 4th race.
Yeah.
And he just seemed to know how to make it happen. And so that was always kind of the guy I watched. And Jeff Roth was always killer on the tree, and he could drive too. Like they didn't have a car that was exactly happy. So he got himself in some pretty wild situations, and he always came out looking like a hero. So, watching those two guys and, even Derek Hawker and some of those guys too. Like, I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and that's where I wanted to go with my racing stuff, and that's what we did. So
yeah, no, the Hawk is definitely wild.
Oh yeah,
right? Yeah. I always loved it. We grew up with Derek racing at Shannonville and stuff like that. So a cool dude for sure. We kind of talked about it, the 10-5 stuff, moving through. You did some NHRA races or tried to.
I never actually got to let go of the button at NHRA. We were this close.
Yeah, we were there. And then so during COVID, you had a lot of time to kind of, I don't want to say get stuck in Canada, but to a certain degree, you had some big plans. You want to do some PDRA stuff. Obviously, we just said NHRA. So you're stuck here for 2 years, hanging out. What do you do? How was that, for the last, I guess, that 2 years, right? The last year's kind of been more over for, but how was that 2 years for you guys with a stale pro mod program?
So when we came home from Florida in March 2020, obviously nobody really knew what was going on. World was kind of shutting down, and it was weird. I don't know if you remember, like the first couple months of COVID, it was like things were pretty lax before it all lockdown stuff started coming in. So like we were all still hanging out and working on the car and, trying to figure out where we're going to go. And then it really locked down. And then I think kind of June or July 2020, they were like, okay, outdoor motorsports is okay if you got 5 people on a team with masks on and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, we were all so bored. We're like, whatever, we'll follow whatever rules there is. We want to go to the racetrack. So we took the car out to Grand Bend and did some testing in NHRA trim, and Grand Bend's not the perfect place to test for that, but it did the trick, and we just wanted to be there. So anyways, we sort of pretty quickly realized that the NHRA thing was a pretty big commitment, and that we weren't at that level yet. And Mark kind of talked me into going and kind of honing our program at PDRA or NMCA or somewhere like that, which I was good with. I was like, you know what, that's a good idea. It's a bit less of a commitment. It's 8th mile. It's a lot easier on parts. And we can learn. I mean, you can't figure out the back half of the track if you can't figure out the first 600 feet. So was very on board with that. So we started testing 8th mile stuff and lighting the car up and put a little bit more overdrive on it. And we kind of put together a few, I would say, racer funded races that year. Myself and Latino and Lang and Al Marino and guys like that, Scott Wildgust. We all kind of just, threw $1,000 in. We get 8 of us together and kind of have fun. So we did that a couple times. It was all right. We were at the racetrack racing, not stuck at home. So, and then 2021, I had some big plans to go run, as many of the PDRA races as I could, and they weren't lifting the border restrictions. So I was, pretty bummed out about the whole thing, not being able to travel. And I was kind of getting sick of organizing these racer run races at Grand Bend and not that they weren't fun, but just wasn't what I wanted to do. And anyways, I got a text from Cedric Bellier or
Cedric Bellew, yes.
Bellew.
Yeah.
I always just call him Frenchie.
Yeah, that's all. That's it.
So, anyways, he texted me and said, "Hey, man, you should come up Naperville. Like, we got a pretty decent program up here." And I'm like, "Oh, there's nothing else going on. Like, why not?" So I talked to a few of the other guys, like Raymond and Santos and Margarino, and I said, "Hey, why don't we slide up there and check this out?" And everybody's kind of like, "Yeah," with nothing else going on, Wild Gust and the Smokies deal. So we went up there and they, right from the time we got there, they were happy to have us and very accommodating and they prep an awesome racetrack and they know how to run a race. And it was, and that wasn't a shot at Grand Bend or Cayuga or anything. I'm just saying it was nice.
It was impressive, right?
It was like, you kind of pull into place and it's old, right? It's not like it's not run down, but it's not a new facility, and you're not sure
you're not rolling into
there.
Norwalk, right? Like
Right.
that sort of thing.
So,
yeah.
But anyways, we were very impressed. Everybody had a blast, and we ran good. We should have won the first race. I think we qualified number one, and I hit a cone in the semis against Cedric, and anyways, so we ended up going back there all year and running that Fuel Tech series, and we won the NHRA National Open, and we switched from roots blower to screw blower, and we took the new combo up there and ran good right away. And so it was kind of a year that I was, not happy about how it was shaping up. It actually ended up being a really awesome year to learn and get some wins and kind of hone our program. So in 2022, when we went to PDRA, we were ready. Like we were running, within a few numbers of these guys, and
really set you up for the success type of thing, right?
Yeah, like, and actually, it was the Snowbirds in 2021 that we, that was our first kind of showing with all the elite cars, and we qualified 7th and went down to 8 cars, and there was 50 cars there. So I mean, I think that was kind of where we opened some eyes, and people knew that we were the real deal, and I'd say that was the start of where we're at now. So
maybe, and this may be a good spot. We'll jump a little bit. The interview we did on Saturday, there was, I mean, it was quite the story of how did you get in, like the invite side of things. And it is, hopefully if ever the footage comes out okay, I mean, it's quite the process you went through to try to make your way in on the invite. So maybe we'll jump to the race. Maybe, like, I don't want to scroll over that, because I think if we can get that story off, it makes some great footage to put on there, because it's a hell of a run that I mean, you just about ran for president. It's pretty much what you ran for, to try to get into this, right? Talking to people and finding everyone. But you've jumped in, you're into the World Series of Pro Mod. I mean, it was a really short period of time that you went from knowing, like, the invite officially coming to you, a few weeks, I think, if you got it, if I remember it correctly, too.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was just few weeks till you had to be down there, right? So maybe we'll pick that up to, like, you got the invite, you've rolled through all the kissing babies and finding people and shaking hands and all the other process to try to get on this elite list. I mean, this is a crazy list of the best in the world. You're heading to, and it's Georgia, I think, right? That was the first stop, wasn't it not? Or the Carolinas? I can't quite remember, there till Florida.
Yeah. So, just getting invited was obviously, that was a small win in itself. Not even a small win. Like that was pretty huge. I was pretty excited when Wes Buck called and invited us, and, it meant a lot to my guys, and just felt like we were finally being recognized for who we felt we were, which was a good caliber team. So get the invite, and I'm talking like 3 weeks to the race. I got nothing together. I had told Noonan and everything that I wasn't going out till first PDRA. We had lots of time. You know how us racers are, leave everything the last minute. And so Wes calls, and I immediately get on the phone, start sending parts all over the place. Mark Savage is in Calhoun, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta, at Justin Bond's shop. He's like, just ship everything here. You can stop on the way down and pick it up. I didn't want it getting stuck at the border and, all the stuff. And I'm like, next thing, all my parts would be here when I'm trying to go there. And anyways, so I jump in the truck, it's February 18th, Saturday morning, by myself, 5:30 in the morning, drive straight through down to Justin's shop, unload the car. It's just me and Mark, and they had actually just got back from testing in Bradenton. And Sunday morning we get up and put one engine together, scale the car, set it up we change combinations. We normally run a 92 over at PDRA at 2625. We ended up being 75 over at 2575. So we rescaled everything, reset the ride height, put an engine together, load it back up in the trailer, and I'm heading to Gainesville to meet the Payton family team to finish my top fuel license. So we get there on Monday, do the fuel deal, which was awesome.
And congratulations, by the way, just because
thank you.
Because there's nothing like glossing over the fact that you're, have a top fuel license now, right?
Yeah,
Talk about all this.
That was, and I'll touch on that briefly. The Peyton team, family, Mark, Yvonne, and Tony and Todd, they're fantastic people. I can't say enough about them. They've got a real car there with real parts, and they're the real deal. The whole team is awesome. We went the second fastest that car had ever gone with my first run in the car, first full run in the car, which was pretty wild in itself. And we made another good lap the next day. And then I had Clay Milliken sign off on my license, who I grew up watching IHRA at Grand Bend and Cayuga every year.
It's like Mr. Canada without actually being Canadian.
Man, he is such a cool guy. Like, I went over there to get my license signed, and I'm like, wasn't nervous talking to him, but I'm like, I'm excited. And he just wanted to sit there and tell stories. Like, he wasn't even looking at my license paperwork. He just wanted to talk, and he loved Grand Bend, loved coming to Grand Bend, and he was showing me pictures on his phone from back in the day, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, he's just a regular guy.
Yep.
Anyway, so that was an awesome experience. So anyways, then I get down to Bradenton, and I get to Bradenton, and the whole racetrack is a disaster. They've got bulldozers and dump trucks and everything going on, and I'm like, oh, guys, what's going on? Like, you got the biggest race ever here, and like, guys are going to start rolling in Sunday. This is Thursday. And Wade Rich says, well, I think they oversold the asphalt spots. I go, what? He goes, yeah, we got to put a bunch more asphalt in. And I'm like, okay. So anyways, I go up to my parents' place for the weekend, which is just about an hour and a half up the road. Get back there Sunday night. It's all done. These guys worked from Wednesday night straight through till Saturday. Like, didn't stop.
Unreal.
Put in a whole bunch more. I think there was like 20 more asphalt spots. Anyways, get down there and roll in Sunday night, and the place is packed already. Like, it was wild. I think there was 25 or 30 teams tested on Monday. Like,
yep. I remember seeing posts from teams talking about being there Sunday and getting pictures, and
we didn't even get in. Like, the gate was, we got there at 7:30, and the gate was already closed, and it was lined up, like, because I think what happened was all this new asphalt, they didn't want teams parking on it through the night because it was still friggin' soft. Like, anyways, it was wild. And so anyways, we got parked on Monday morning and started right into it. Put the other engine together Monday when the guys got there. They drove straight through from here and started testing.
And that's where I think the story starts to get real interesting, right? So when you talk about some of these things, I mean, you lose a little bit of the perspective when you talk about the win, right? Like you talked about during some of the Flow podcasts that you changed the motor going into Q4, and we'll get to that part, right? But that this was a week of I won't say thrashing, because there was a lot of work to be done, but I mean, you went down and I remember we talked about it a little bit that you had confidence going, like, this is a track well. You've done well here. You've got lots of run data. Problem is now this is hot. Like, you've got good night, cool condition type stuff, and you get to test day, and you're looking at the forecast moving forward, and this isn't applicable now. Like, everything you've got is out the window, and here's where it starts, right? Would you have to go through and maybe run through that? Like, there was a lot of work before Q1 just to get to those first couple good runs you made that put you in the field temporarily.
Absolutely. It was, like you said, look at the forecast. It's above 30 every day, which is not even close to what we ran in December of 21. So yeah, everything I had out the window. We were starting over. So it was full test.
Rodney Brubacher.
Yeah, he's one of my crew guys. He's
thrashing pretty well sums it up as his comment, but just to preface that.
Yeah, no, I'll get to that. But basically, we went into full test mode, and we tested everything we had in the trailer. Literally, I put every single. So I didn't. Rod and my guys put every single stator in the transmission, in the converter that I had in the trailer, which was 5 of them. So we made 9 test runs, and we put 5 different stators in it. and then of course the one that was in it at the end, it was no good. So we had to go back to another one. So like they had the transmission out easily 10 times on the weekend. And, you know, and they didn't bitch about it once. They knew we had to find some good data in the heat. And I think we did. It wasn't a perfect test session by any means. We struggled, but, you know, watching everybody was kind of struggling, and the clocks were off. So you didn't really know what everybody was running. You got an idea. You watch these things enough, you can tell pretty quickly if it's on a good run or not. But other than the guy in the other lane, you didn't know exactly what anybody was running, and which added a pretty neat element actually. I was saying to you guys earlier, like everybody's kind of running around at night, having a couple beers, going, "Hey, like how'd you run today?" You know, and
everyone's looking for intel. Everyone's
and you get a few beers into some of these guys, and they're like, "Oh, we went 365," right? Like, meanwhile, they went 72.
Yeah.
But
everyone's got a poker face on.
Trying to find their way out of this, right? I really enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of neat. Just added another element, but yeah, we thrashed. Like, these guys, they worked their asses off, and we, you know, at the end of testing, we were pretty happy. We weren't thrilled, but we were like, okay, we got something to work with here. And then Q1. Well, Friday was a windstorm. It was like 45 mile an hour gusting winds, and like awnings were blown away. All the nice signage that Wes and those guys put up for World Series Bromod was blowing all over the place, and there was some shit falling down.
Carnage pictures.
It was horrible. Well, if you watch Courtney's her right on track or right off track in the tower with JT, like you can just hear the wind whistling by the tower. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, so everybody was testing all week in the heat because we knew that we were going to have to qualify in the heat. And Friday night comes along, 6:00, and they're rolling us out. And it, you know, the first few pairs ran in, you know, it's somewhat sun conditions, but for the most part, everybody ran sun off the racetrack, completely different than what everybody tested. And we went 369, which I was really happy with. We just wanted to kind of roll it down there and get in the field. And looking at the forecast, I said before the weekend started, I said the bump's going to be, 72, 73. Anyway, so when we went 69, I'm like, awesome. That's a huge weight off. That'll get us, it'll be in.
Good pass.
Like right. And I said, that'll get us in. It'll be in the bottom half, but at least we're in. And obviously that was a little bit cocky of a statement, I guess. Q2 comes up later that night, and everybody was making huge runs, like low 60s, and we went 68, and which we weren't really happy with. But anyways, nonetheless, we were still in. I think we were 21st after Friday night, and but the problem with a race like this when there's 60 cars is you look down the sheet, you're 21st, but look behind you. It's like any of these guys at any point in time,
40 more cars sitting behind.
Right, that can easily run mid 60s. Like all of these guys can run fast. So it wasn't a very comforting feeling, and I knew that our car wasn't perfect. It wasn't running like it should. We were missing something. Anyways, so Q2 Friday night was a match race against Bubba Stanton, and who I beat on a hole shot, I might add. And he went 66, there 68, but the throttle hung open at the finish line, and Bradenton's pretty dark at night, and I was kind of excited because it was qualifying, but it was a race, so I was not really paying attention in the car. I was kind of looking out the passenger window, seeing if I could see his front end because I knew he'd be coming. And anyways, throttle hangs open, and my foot was stuck kind of in a weird position. I changed shoes before this weekend, and I was wearing a new shoe. Anyways, couldn't get the pedal up, and I ended up just hitting the mag, but it was on the chip for like, I don't know, almost 2 seconds, like 1.8 seconds. So we get back, and Savage says, "Well, let's get that motor out of there before it starts doing, changing rods by itself." And I go, "Yeah,
quick eject on the rods."
yeah."
Right?
So I go, "No problem. We'll pull it out, put the other one in." It was all ready to go. So the boys change it. Actually, we think we did it in the morning, Saturday morning, because we didn't run till 3.
Yep.
So we put the other engine in, and Q3 went out. And it was in the heat. So I was thinking, okay, this is an important run. It's going to be our only qualifying run in the heat. I realized the ladder's not, or the qualifying sheet's not going to change much, but this is important data for race day. And it went out and just didn't run, kind of knocked the tire off early, and it shouldn't have. It was just
I just look at the run now, like it's 983 to the 60. It just
right. Yeah, it ran like it had no power. And anyways, we got back and looked at the data, and the guys were done servicing the engine. It was basically ready to go again. And Mark says, "We got to pull that engine out. Something's wrong with it. I don't know what it is, but it's not acting the way it should. Put the other engine back in." I'm like, "Dude, it's 5:15. Like, we run at 6. He's like, "Well, we can't run it like that. So I don't know what you want me to tell you." I go, "Okay." Look at these guys. And I'm like, "Guys, we're changing the engine." So these guys just went crazy and yanked the engine out. And we actually pulled the camshaft out of the other motor to put in this motor, because I got a bunch of different cams and we were kind of liking this one. So anyways, the spare engine didn't even have a camshaft in it. We hadn't checked it after it was on the chip. It was not ready to go. So anyways, we're putting it in anyways.
Plug and play. Like, you're not.
No, it was not a plug and play. This was not a 30-minute engine change. Anyways, the guys got the engine together. The other one's out. The spares together, and they're running the first pair of Pro Mods. And we don't even have an engine in the car. And thankfully, we were 23rd pair. Anyways, everybody just went into crazy mode, and there was like 7 guys thrashing on this thing. Justin Bond came over, and he was running behind us, so he knew he had time, and he came over and kind of calmed the guys down and said, was cracking jokes and stuff and kind of making light of the situation, even though he knew that we were cutting it close, and helped us a bunch. We got the thing together. Like, I think they had already called pairs 15 to 20, and we were 23rd. We hadn't even started the car yet. So valve covers on. Rod didn't even lash valves. Like, we just stuck the thing together. He kind of checked a few of them, and he's like, they're close. so we threw the valve covers on, fired it up, and dragged it up there. And like these things, I mean, you guys have been around race cars enough. There's you got to double, triple check everything. We didn't. And anyways, drag it up there. We knew we were getting close to the bump. Bump was 69, came down to 68. We were 68.7, so we knew we were right there. And then finally they said that we were on the bump, and we were maybe 4 pairs back. And I could hear guys running 65, 66, and I'm like, "Oh man, we're out." Like, so
and guys aren't bumping in big. Like, they are bumping to the bump spot.
Yeah,
session was wild.
It was crazy. Like, it was. Well, I think there was like 9 cars that were at 369. Yep. So like it was. So the bump, people were getting bumped, but the bump never changed. Like on the scoreboard, it changed to the thou, but it didn't change to the hun. So you couldn't really. You didn't know
there
where
was
it was
bumps
at.
happening just off mile an hour, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, I know.
It was an insane session. Probably the greatest session of qualifying. I'll like throw it out there I've seen ever. Right?
It was wild. It was wild. So anyways, we roll up. By the time we ran, we were 35th, and we knew we had to go either 67 or a really low 68 to get in. And I didn't know it was 68.3, but we made the run and it went 68.2, and I can hear the guys cheering and which was good. And I knew we were the last car that could bump in, but nobody really said if we got in or not. So I didn't know until we got out of the car, or until I got out of the car. And I think Joe Costello was down there and said, "Hey, you got in on the last spot by a thou." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, you bumped out Brandon Snyder by 1 thou."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Holy shit. Like that's crazy." So obviously I'm ecstatic. We just qualified for the the biggest race ever on the bump spot. My guys just thrashed. Nothing went wrong. Like, I'm just kind of amazed at the same time that we had the whole car apart and put it back together and didn't really check anything. And it was just, everybody did their job. So pretty happy, pretty proud of my guys. And we get back and everybody just wants to sit back and have a couple cold beers. We're pretty excited. And I happened to walk by the car and I had my hand on the frame rail and I felt something sharp. And looked down, and the upper frame rail from the strut cup back to the firewall is cracked right in half. Like, it's not good. And so I'm
to start to talk about and introduce our next hero to the week, right?
Yeah. Wes Goddard, if that's who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But he happened to be standing right beside the car when I noticed it, and I just looked at him, and he was just nicely enjoying his first beer, and he just looked at me and rolled his eyes, and he's like, "Oh man, this is gonna be a late night." So, anyways, I shouldn't say we. These guys thrashed. Justin came over again. He's like, "Hey, I got all kinds of molly in the trailer. Like, there's tubing, there's anything you need. Like, just use it." And it was pretty bad. Like to the point where Wes wasn't like, he knew he could fix it, but he's like, "I don't know. Good and square and true it's going to be like we're
we can make it right, but can we make it work right after?
Right. So anyways, and at this point, Cal Belushi's coming over and he's like, "Hey, I didn't qualify. You use one of my cars, just race one of my cars." And I'm like, that's unbelievable that you're offering me that, but I really want to race my car. I mean, I haven't drove your car. I know it's a very good car, but I'm pretty comfortable in mine. But anyways, thanks for the offer. If we can't, I might take you up on it. And anyways, these guys work till 2:30 in the morning. I walked out there at 2:30, and Greg Patterson and Wes had just finished painting it. Couldn't go to bed unless it was painted, and you couldn't even tell. I mean, other than a cap on the upper tube there where they patched it, it was perfect, and I knew it was going to be fine. Wes looked at me and said, "It's good as new." Yep. So, yeah, that was and
that's
a lot later night than they expected. But
and all of this is just to get into E1.
That's just to get into E1.
And maybe that's a good point. We'll pick up where this starts, because now, to recap, at every stator in the trailer and out of the car, we've changed bullets. We got, you're going into E1 now. You've got the bullet you've taken out with a little service work now, at least going into E1, but it's the same motor that there was some concerns with. Chassis has been broken, fixed. There was rear end work, I think. We may have lost.
We tried different gear. We went different gear ratios, just trying to find the right package. So we had rear ends in and out of the car and rebuilt spares to match. And anyways, so these boys, they had to service the engine then Sunday morning because we were too busy fixing the frame. So, Sunday morning before E1, I said, "Guys, are going to knock the pan off, got to unbolt the rods, check the bearings, retorque it back up," because, again, it was on the chip. We didn't check anything. Thankfully, it stayed together Q4. And I think it was a broken valve spring, some pretty minor shit. But anyways, go up E1, and it was a chip draw. So we went up, did Western chips. And, of course, I was the first name called. I don't know if that was set up because we were 32 or what, but we were the first name called, and we had Tommy Gray. And roll up there. It's hot. It's hottest day yet. I knew that, a mid 70 would probably be a pretty decent run out there. Yep. And so we set it up to go 73 and roll up. And normally you stop kind of at the end of staging there. And they're like, "Nope, roll them right up. We want you right in the burnout box. Like, we're going to do opening ceremonies." And they got, Flow Racing's got cameras everywhere, and there's tons of people on the starting line, and Wes is doing a big story up there, and it was pretty overwhelming and exciting. And anyways, they start playing the national anthem. I get in the car, Rod strapped me in, fire the thing up, and roll into the burnout box, hit the throttle, and I go, I didn't change the main jet. Just totally forgot to change the main jet, and it's probably 1,000 feet worse than it was last night. I'm like, this thing is going to be so slow. Anyways, back up, go to put it in neutral. The shifter's falling off. Oh my God. I'm like, so anyway, I got it in forward and I just left it there. And these guys are like looking at me like I'm crazy because I always just sit there in neutral and let it idle until they're ready. And anyways, got in and left, and the thing left like a stone. Like, just, I could see him way out in front of me. But I was like, man, I didn't think I caught that bad of a light. Like, he's really out on me, but I didn't see my wind light. I was kind of just driving the car down there and get through the lights, and Wes is cheering on the radio and he's like, yeah, good job. And I'm like, did he red light? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. Like, we needed that.
That's like the lucky round, right? And we talked about this Saturday. You got to, like, the big events like this, you always seem to just have to have one. Like,
you have to have one.
Get it or have one.
And
there it is.
To have it first round, I wouldn't have it any other way, because first round, as you guys know, is the toughest round. I mean, that's the round that everybody's nervous for, and you feel like a real doofus if you don't make it through first round. And
crazy circumstances, like, because Gray runs what it ends up being one of the lowest ETs.
He went 71, which was like, I think, the second best round of the session.
Yeah, I think it wins like every other round, basically.
Yeah, it does. So I'm happy. Obviously, got away with one. Anyways, we get back and Mark's looking at the data and he's like, dude, something is wrong with this converter. Like, it has to be in the converter. This thing is not running like it should. So transmission out again, pull it apart, and there was a broken bearing, and the stator cap was all smashed in there. And anyways, so I ran over to Scott Wildgut's trailer and said, do you have your spare converter? And he's like, yeah, got it here, take it. So anyways, he let me have that. We stole some parts out of it, put ours back together, and it was kind of a relief that we found the problem that we were inadvertently chasing all weekend that we didn't really know. Well, not all weekend, because we had changed the stator lots and it went together right, but it broke in Q2. We found out later. Anyways, so get back to round two. Mark's feeling a little more confident now. We've got our problem figured out, or we think we do. And he says, I think we're gonna have to go, bottom 70 out there to move on. It was still hot. I said, yeah, I think you're right. So we went out, had Eric Latino, and
a little Canadian on Canadian action.
Yeah, a little Canadian on Canadian action, and he made a really good run. He went 369 to our 71, and he just forgot to let go of the button. So
this, this starts the great part of the story where now, the three consecutive rounds that, I mean, you wheeled this car, to the victory. Like, this is where the story gets written, that Spencer drags this car through, because you've got three consecutive rounds coming up where you win on hole shots, right? And decisive, right? Like, big rounds, right?
So I obviously I got my lights weren't great all weekend. They were kind of all over the place, and I think just because we were testing stuff and I was mind was elsewhere. But when we found that stator problem, and I could see in Mark that he had some confidence back, and my guys were, if they were looking good, they were like, okay, let's go do this now. We got by round one, we got lucky. Let's go race. So anyways, I guess something came together, and I started cutting lights and got around Eric. And then we had Marcus Burt, who is the second or third qualifier. Third, I think.
Yeah, he was top 5 at least, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, his nickname's the Axeman, so he didn't get that from being shitty on the tree. He's normally very, very sharp on the tree, and he had lane choice, and I just rolled up there and left on him, and thankfully the car ran pretty good. It went 67, and Mark told me before the run, he goes, it's gonna go 66, 67. Okay, I think that's where we need to be at. So anyways, Marcus went 66 and we went 67, and I left on him and got around that one. It was a close race too, And he jumped out of the car and he's like, you know, he was kind of mad at himself, but he was like, man, I was nervous running you. And I'm like, you were nervous running me? I'm like, I was nervous running you. Anyways, that was good. Then we get to the semis. And at this point, you know, we've gone now further than we had in the snowbirds. So I'm pretty happy that, you know, it wasn't just a fluke that we did well at the snowbirds. We're going rounds here and people are seeing that and starting to feel good. And it was after that round that I kind of had a good feeling. I was
gonna say, this is just after like that Flow Racing interview at the top end, right? We jumped out of the car and there was Joe Costello going through it. And I have to admit, like, you'd had a quote previous to this that, you know, if you could just get in, right, that your team and your, you know, game plan, you had confidence in it, but you jumped out and you said, you know, at the end of the interview, like, I've got a good feeling about this. And you can just see the confidence at that moment, right? Like, there are guys who are saying, like, we've got this, who, you know, are covering up that, you know, they got to say that. Like, that's the line. You can't sit there and say, like, yeah, we're just lucky to be here, right?
Yeah.
But you could really tell, like, there was a confidence level, that quiet confidence that you knew you were on a roll here, right? And
yeah, I knew, like, when we went 67 and my, you know, I got a 26 light, I was like, man, we got our hot rod back and I'm doing my job. So let's just keep this momentum going. And Jason Harris, I think he was qualified 4th or something. Like, they were.
He did not have an easy run here. Like, that's the flip side of this too.
Wow. And you know, in saying that, there was no easy runs. Like, there was no ducks out there. Like, I mean,
if there was a low qualifier,
guys from 33 to 50 could have won the race. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so tight. And so anyways, got Jason Harris and also another guy that's, you know, not only deadly on the tree, and he had a hot rod. He'd run 364 twice already. And anyways, he had lane choice. He happened to want the right lane, and I would actually like the left lane a little better. For some reason, I normally like the right lane there, but I had a good feeling in the left. So again, left on him, 1011. He had some radio issues in his car, so I could see when we were backing up that he kind of stopped out by the Christmas tree and he was waving his hand, and so I was like, oh, perfect, this is going to get him all rattled up. And it did. He was like 070, and he's never 070. So,
and you're 11.
Like, we were 11. And I was 11. But it was a good race. Like, it was 64.6 to 65.5. So I mean, it was within a hun. So it was anybody's race at that point. But obviously we left on him. I never actually seen him, so I knew he was dead late or he shook or something. So then, you know, you're going into the finals and kind of can't believe it. Just excited. And at this point I'm going, you know what, no matter what happens, we did awesome. Like
this is a great day. This has been a great week.
Hard. Right? It's paid off. Like, yeah, I want to win the race, but I'm excited to be here where we're at. Everybody's going to watch us run for $100,000.
Yep.
And
it's almost 2 Canadians. I don't, you know, we shouldn't gloss back, like Kenny Langs and the other.
Yeah, and I thought Kenny won, so he was in front of us, and there's so many people on the starting line. I couldn't see wind lights or anything, and my fiance Jamie actually opened the door of my car and goes, Kenny won, but I didn't realize at the time she was asking a question. She wasn't sure because I think he went quicker and like I forget what happened, but
I think it was a whole shot loss.
I think it was a whole shot too. He went 66 or 67 or something.
He was I think he was like 20 something. Like, he was great on the tree. He was 26.
Yeah, he was knocking him down all day too.
Yeah. You know, it's just like perfect run by Stedding on the other side, really.
Right. And I didn't know that she was actually asking me if Kenny won. And I thought she just said Kenny won. So I got out of the car at the top end and I'm like, all Canadian final. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, probably not what Wes Buck dreamt up, but that's what he's going to get.
And number 31 and 32 qualifiers. Like, right. This you don't plan this one out. You know, everyone's bracket, if they had one, was busted, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways, that wasn't the case. It was Stedding. So go back to the trailer. Everything looks good. Broken bell spring, broken headers. this is just normal at this point. It had cracked the headers on every single run.
His welding skills were well practiced at this point.
At this point, like we were running out of time, these guys were just welding it wide open. Like they weren't waiting for it to cool down. They were like, just get the thing so it stays together for 4 seconds. And anyways, so headers off, weld them, change valve spring, do the regular service on the car, and they turned us around in like an hour, which it's not that fast, but it's fast enough when you've made 4 runs already that day. So we go out and I said to Mark, I said, we're going to have to go probably faster than we've ever gone before. We've gone, 365 4 or 5 times. We've never gone any quicker than that. I just looked at him. I said, buddy, we got to do something here. Like that's King Tut over there tuning that thing. He's going to spark it up. And he goes, well, how quick do you want to go? Like, I think I can go, 62, 63 out there right now. I was like, well, I don't know if we can go that fast. Like I wanted to go down the racetrack, but it's going to have to go 64. He goes, all right, we'll make it go low 64. And it did. So it was, that was an awesome race. I was a little bit tardy on the tree, 37 to his 33. And I could see him the whole time. But I seen myself just inching on him. And then it went the other way. He was starting to inch back on me. That car back half's pretty good. It went
207 to your 205 and a half at the end.
Yeah. So it was rolling pretty good. And anyways, I was pretty sure I got him. But the nice part around 8th miles, you can see the scoreboards when you roll through. So I was pretty sure I got him. I looked up and wind light was on and Wes was screaming in my ear. And honestly, it was just like, I was in disbelief. I was just kind of in shock and, still got to get the carbo down at 205 miles an hour here. It's like, okay, calm down and get out. And Joe Costello's like in my ear right away and all pumped up. And I'm just, just happy, just kind of humbled and proud of my guys, man. Like they won this, not me. I mean, yeah, I cut some good lights in a couple of rounds, but these guys worked their asses off, and it was pretty special.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those things you don't often think about when you get into this type. Like it's a team sport through and through. It's it's the driver's name on the ladder and the driver's name on the check. But I mean, when you get to this level of racing, it takes a crew and an awesome crew, right? Like you guys, from top to bottom, put on just a hell of it was a hell week, right, to get through to where you were.
Oh, it was just it was hot and everybody's, you're sweating by 9 o'clock in the morning and I'm pitted, beside a couple teams that have got, big payrolls, guys being paid to be there. And, these guys are there because they love it as much as I do. And 2 of them are good buddies from high school. Greg Patterson I've known since I was 5 years old. We started kindergarten together. And they just come because they have a blast doing it. And, Wes just loves racing. And he's like, anywhere you go, I'll be there. So that's a pretty key guy to have in my corner as well. So, and Mark did a hell of a job too.
Yeah. I don't want to undersell this, like to Mark's contributions on this too. I mean, that's like you tune the car, and that's one of the things I think we were talking about in the pre-show is like you've tuned the car for years, right? And Mark has come in to kind of help, but to see this Canadian crew top to bottom pull this off, this isn't like it's an American crew you've brought in. I mean, these guys are they're buddies, they're volunteers, they're friends, and for everyone to come together like this, just it's unreal, right?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I tuned the car. The old car, the old engine, and I still got a lot to do with it on this stuff. But like Mark's making the calls, but what I like about it is he runs everything by me. He knows that I know enough about it that if he bounces off if he bounces something off me that I don't like, I'm gonna tell him, or I'm gonna question him on it, at least let him second double check or whatever. But
think about that again for a half a second, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's, it works out pretty well, just coming from a bit of the tuning background. Not that I was a tuner by any means, but I did enough that I could make the thing go 580s or 380s.
Absolutely. And we talked about that a little bit off the air too, just even having that someone who you can get in the car, and if there was last minute change to be made, or like just the setup on it, like you can focus on being the driver and just take that little bit of stress off the thought train, right?
Oh, it's huge.
To focus on hitting it, right?
Yeah. No, you can't tune the car in that situation and drive it. I mean, maybe a Todd Tutterow or somebody can like that, but you got to be so focused on what you're doing and just having the confidence. Like I went out there every round knowing that, it's not going to shake. It's gonna run the number. He called it every run from E2 to E5. He told me exactly what that car was going to run to 100th of a second. That's pretty damn good at 360s.
100%.
It's not bad.
So, no, so we could have put a dial on it for you bracket guys.
That's right. See, bracket life. It all comes back full circle. That's really cool. I really want it. Like, story's awesome, right? It's a ridiculous story to hear. It's a ridiculous story to tell. So that's why it had to be here. We had to do this. Like I said, Andrew was messaging me the whole time, keeping me updated on every little thing that was kind of going down. It's cool, man. It's a wicked story. Congratulations again. You were hitting on it about the crew guys. That's something I wanted to make sure we really got to, because of the work that they put in, right? These lads probably went there and worked more at the racetrack than they did, for however long when you come home and go back to work.
Yeah, Rod made a joke to me the other day. He goes, we came back to work to get a break.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not wrong, man. Like these guys, they're working 14, 15-hour days, and it's not easy work. I mean, not when I'm sitting there telling them, take the transmission out, change the converter, change the rear end.
Once you're done, just grab that next thing there. Yeah.
It's easy for me. Those guys won the race. I'm not going to lie to you. It's pretty amazing to have such a talented crew, and these guys are, like I said, they're high school buddies. We don't have a racing background other than just learning as we go. And what Wes obviously does, and Mark, but other than that, we're just some rednecks that like fast cars.
Yeah, and then you top it off with $100,000 win.
Yeah, that was our biggest
at the biggest pro mod race ever.
Yeah, this has made some big changes for you, right? Like, I mean, we talked at the show a little bit. Like, this kind of put a lot of think about the companies that you tell me about. Some of the companies you have been contacting you, right? That all of a sudden now your stuff's showing up, right?
It's pretty neat. I mean, never really been in the spotlight, so to speak, before, and just the calls. I mean, I didn't look at my phone hardly at all on Sunday. Went to bed at 3:00 Monday morning. We were done celebrating, and I had 197 text messages and 300 Facebook notifications. And anyways, and a lot of these were from parts manufacturers that, I've talked to them on the phone ordering parts. They're always pretty eager to talk to you when you got a credit card in your hand. But these guys were pretty happy for us and excited that we're running this stuff, and can we use you for advertising? I was on Neil Chance's website today ordering some converter stuff, and my picture's up at the top of the screen. World Series of Pro Mod champion, and Star Racers sending me blower belts, and Goodyear's dropping off slicks to Mark at the Gator National saying, "Hey, we saw your boy won on Hoosiers there. You should try these Goodyears out." So I mean, it's all it's very cool, and I'm sure that'll fade off. But I guess we just got to go win again and prove to these guys it wasn't a fluke. So
absolutely, bud. Ride it while it lasts, right?
Absolutely.
So the rest of the year, point, where does this take you? I know you got your Top Fuel license. In fact, one of the things that we talked about briefly was that you were actually slated to go to the Gator to run Top Fuel, and the invite changed that. So what does this do for you as you move forward for the year now? Has this changed much in your schedule or moved stuff up or down? I mean, PDRA was on it, so I imagine that hasn't changed much. But
no, it's going to be pretty similar to how we had it laid out. We're going to do the first 4 PDRA events. We'll go Gallup, Virginia, Norwalk, Maryland, and then gonna take a break during the summer with the pro mod. Got to do some updates and just some stuff that's overdue. It's starting to show its run count. Just needs some love. So we're gonna give it a little overhaul during the summer months, and during that time, I'm gonna probably do some match racing with Todd in the 2 fuel cars for the Peyton family, and I think we got one in July in Empire, New York. We'll do the Grand Bend National event.
Yep.
According to Uli, on the weekend, we'll be doing the Toronto event too. And then we'll jump back in the pro mod for the last 2 PDRA races. So Galat and Virginia to finish the year, and then hopefully roll right into the Snowbirds in December. And I'd like to run all 3 of those down there: the Snowbirds, the US Street, and World Series again, assuming we get invited back.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably a safe bet, to be honest with you, but
should be okay.
Great point, and I'll touch on this. Mark McRae, it's great to see so many Canadians down in Bradenton cheering you on. There was a long list of Facebook feeds of people in stands. I got to ask, the winner's circle, it looked pretty good for the limited we were seeing on Flow. How great was that with I assume all the Canadians, because I saw videos and pictures of almost everyone I knew down in the winner's circle with you. That must have been something else with all the fellow countrymen and women down there with you.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. It was kind of mind blowing actually how many people were there from here. And I say I didn't look at my phone on Sunday, but my mom was still giving me updates of everything that was going on. And after the 3rd round against Marcus Burt, you could kind of feel, it felt like the whole country was behind us. Like everybody was, flying the Canada flag, and not just for me. I mean, Kenny was still in at that point too. It was pretty cool to feel. And like I had 3 longtime sponsors down there that brought their motorhomes down just to come watch us race, and kind of turn it into a little vacation afterwards. And you know what, they were there all day Saturday, and had such a great time on Saturday. They're like, we're coming back Sunday, and they stayed right to the end. Like Ray Wilhelm, guy here from town, he's got a concrete business. He's been on the side of my car ever since I was in the junior dragster. And he goes, "Man, you're keeping me up past my bedtime." But I'm not leaving. This is exciting. So anyways, he stayed right till the end. He was in the winner's circle, and it was awesome. It was just overwhelming and just a great experience all around. The whole week was phenomenal.
I made sure I messaged a couple guys I knew were there that I think they maybe showed up to run the Super Pro class, who are wintering in Florida. I'm like, you got to make sure you get to that winner's circle. I don't know where you are. If you've left the track, go back, but you need to be there for this, because this has got to be big, right?
Yeah. Well, Tommy Orr was there. He was running his Super Pro car, Super Gas car there, and
yep.
He stuck around right till the end too, and was in the winner's circle. And so that was pretty cool to have guys like that we've raced with for a long time, and
yep.
actually do some business with Tom and Lance, and it was nice to have some guys like that there. So
yeah, no, that was an awesome deal. That was really good to see, because that's one of the things often it gets missed a little bit. We get that outside influence, like racer, right? Canada.
Oh, for sure.
And, it's sometimes you see the winner's circle pictures when you do watch it, and it looks a little meek compared to some of the home talent or country guys. But boy, it was awesome to see that. It looked like it was a fun time. The $100 bills, I'm assuming fake, because otherwise winning's all over the ground. That's a tough one, but
no, it was. But he started unloading them on top of the car, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, I don't got security here. Then I was looking at them a little closer, and they're fake, but it was cool.
There might be a few in circulation in Florida.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a few. Yeah. It was pretty neat. I think I signed a few of them for some fans and stuff. It was awesome. It was good. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
One of the things I asked you on Saturday, and it was a good answer. Maybe I kind of want to throw it on here again a bit. This was a big win for Canada. Like this was one of those things where we don't often have that opportunity as a country to have someone do what you've done, right? Win an event of such prestige. What do you what do you hope this does for Canadian racing in a general sense? Because I think there's a lot to be taken from this, right? And I'm kind of curious what your take is on it, on what this does for Canada and for racers in general, fans. Because I mean, other than some notable wins through the years at national events and things of that nature, right? And big money wins. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest ones I think you could say might have been one of the biggest Canadian motorsports moments, and that's a big, honestly, that's a big comment, and I'll stand behind that.
I appreciate.
What are you hoping this this does for Canadian motorsports?
I guess just prove to all the guys that are running up here that you're no different than the Americans, or what. The racing is just as good up here, especially the bracket stuff. Like we produce some pretty damn good bracket racers, and some good pro mod teams as well. I mean, and top field teams. I mean, the Paytons. If you go down there and work hard, and just do your thing. If it's your day, it's your day, and I guess I hope people realize that you don't have to be a multi-million-dollar team, with full-time guys to go down and win these things. You just have to have the heart and the soul and some dedicated people, and go do it. And it's not for lack of trying. I mean, we've gone to many races in the States and been unsuccessful, but you just keep knocking the door down, and one of these times it's going to happen. And, it happened for us at the biggest race possibly could, which is amazing. But I guess I just hope that, people see that you don't need to be a super team to go win these things. And you just got to work at it, and, hard work. You can't beat hard work. And my guys work very hard at it. And, I spend a lot of time at it, and it's tough to beat that.
The dedication, right? Like, just
absolutely
put the time in, do the work, and it pays off, right? And I think I mean that's a good message, I think, in general, like in the sport, because it doesn't matter. I mean, even on the highest level where you're talking about, right? You put the time in, do the homework, it'll pay off, and I think that's a solid message.
Absolutely. So, Spence, we've kept you for an hour and a half. We've been on here.
It's well past my bedtime. I'm a 9 o'clock kind of guy.
That's it. I hear you. Last chance before we kind of let you roll. Anybody you want to thank? Anybody extra? Obviously your crew dudes, everybody like that. Anybody else you want to throw out there in spotlight?
My family, my mom and dad, my sister, my fiance Jamie. I mean, I put a post on today. Justin Bond getting emotional after his win at the Gator Nationals. He said he's missed his mom's last 5 birthdays for being at the Gator Nationals, and I don't think people realize how much we give up sometimes to go do this. And those people have always stood behind me, and it means a lot. And now I'm getting emotional.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
it's a big commitment, as you guys know. It's you miss out on a lot of shit. And, to have those people there and just as excited as you are to win, it's pretty special. So, and all my sponsors over the years too. And of course my crew guys, like, they're just as dedicated as I am at this. And it's just pretty special all around.
Absolutely. But that's it's great. You're absolutely right. You hit the points, you really don't realize what all goes into it. But that's a great spot. It's been a great time having you on here. It's a great spot to leave it. Congratulations once again. I appreciate you taking the time. Andrew, anything else for Spence before we let him roll?
No, just that appreciate you coming on. I mean, it was a great show. You hit on a lot of great stuff. Thank you so much for coming and putting the time in to come with us here tonight. I know it was like I said, busy schedule for you, so we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All good, guys. I appreciate you having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely, bud. And like we said, we've said it countless times so far. Huge deal. This is awesome. Congratulations and thank you. And I'm sure we'll all be talking again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, Spencer. Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
You too.
Well, that was good. That was a great way to end it, Andrew?
Absolutely. That was a fun interview. I mean, I've heard this story a few times now. I've talked to Spencer a couple, right? And just an unreal sequence of events, right? Like unbelievable what they went through to do what they did. And, you know, I don't get tired of hearing it because every time I do hear it, there's something else. So what a great time.
That's what I was thinking. And like, I've known of Spencer for a long time, you know, doing different things. And then being around the races at Grand Bend when he was doing the quick 32 stuff. And then when he kind of jumped into pro mod, we've always kind of been around, you know, so you saw it, but then you never get to, myself, I never got to really know him, you know, so then it is really cool to do this and get to know that side of him. And we're all the exact same. We say it with every guest that we have or every new person we meet, right? We're all the same dudes.
Oh yeah.
You know, for the most part, and all love it. Everybody that's really into it. So that was cool. You know, it was a lot of fun. You know, that was, it was actually brought up to me. I meant to say it earlier. This was episode 32 with qualifier number 32.
There you go.
So I just wanted to throw that one out there too.
You did catch that still. We didn't miss it. Perfect.
Yeah, we get that. We did get that because it's a good one. So Andrew, I think that's about it for this week.
Yeah. Great episode. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
Absolutely. This was a lot of fun. This was really good. Absolutely. The story was cool. So we'll be back again in 2 weeks. Make sure you check it all out. I'll see if I can get, there we go, shop apparel code up there. Anyway, on there, Shop Bracket Life brand apparel. Check it out. We had a lot of stuff left. Fancy hat. Tony Payton on there commenting. He said how nice my hat is.
Yep.
This is an old shirt, as you can see the difference in the black and the fade. I just grabbed it. Probably my favorite racing shirt that I have. So yeah.
I had one like that when I was rocking it out at the Motorama show. I didn't have time to go grab my hat tonight. I feel actually a little bit embarrassed by that. So,
yeah. But yeah, that's about that for tonight. Like I said, back in 2 weeks, we'll go at this again. We'll see what happens. You know, if another Canadian wins another $100,000, then we'll have somebody else on.
Yeah, there's some big races coming up in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have some. We've been talking to a few different people. We got a few subjects coming up here that should be good. I know we want to talk some WDRA stuff. Yeah. That's a big one coming up with a lot of 3 tracks in Ontario going with it. Right, we got some season. I think we want to get excited in April. We'll do some episodes that get us rolling into some exciting season stuff. Right, so it should be good. That's gonna be a fun next few episodes as we start to get ready for racing.
Yeah. All right, I gotcha. Oh, Brock says my logo's backwards. Oh, yeah. See, I got to flip the screen. I do the screen mirror.
You have the mirror on.
Yeah, I don't have the mirror. Rachel always bugs me with the mirror being on. But yeah, we got lots of good stuff coming up. Racing is getting close. We're almost going to be in March or in April. We are in March. We're almost going to be in April here. So thanks, Andrew, for coming on, doing this, all the stuff you do. All the work here, all the work you do at Motorama, you know, everybody sees it. Everybody sees all the Bracket Life stuff getting spread around. So, you know, we always appreciate you taking the time out to do this as well as all our guests and everybody else that does come on and everybody that watches. So we will talk to you guys all again in 2 weeks. Have some fun. Hopefully the snow goes away. I don't know what the forecast is. I don't care what it is. Don't tell me if there is snow. I don't care.
I just want to see green grass.
That's all that matters.
All that matters.
All right, guys. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody that did. And we'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one.
Bracket racing isn't just what we do. It's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.